Welcome to Cyber Threat Intel, your go-to source for the latest updates, news, and insights on cyber threats. Our goal is to arm you with the knowledge to protect yourself in the digital age, whether you're a cybersecurity professional or just curious about the threats lurking in the digital shadows. Make sure to subscribe now on YouTube or your favorite podcast listening platform to join us on the front lines of cybersecurity, because in the world of cyber threats, knowledge is power. Welcome. This is Cyber Threat Intel. I'm your host, John Good. This is episode number 55. It's Monday, June 24th, 2024. If this is the first time that you're joining the show, glad to have you here. Glad that you found the content. And if you're returning from another episode or some other content, glad to see you back. Now, if you need to grab a snack or a drink, something to get you through the show, like always, make sure you run and go do that before we keep going. And then if you want to check out the articles that we cover, see a little bit more information about what we're talking about, as well as some other articles that are important, head on over to cyberthreatintel.com. Again, cyberthreatintel.com. That's our website, and you can find all that information there. With that being said, let's go ahead and flip over to my screen and hop into the content. All right, so first article, spies with upgraded Ghost Rat appear to be new operation, researchers say. A newly discovered cyber espionage operation is targeting ministries of foreign affairs and embassies of multiple countries, according to a new report. Threat actor dubbed Sneaky Chef by researchers at cybersecurity firm Cisco Talos is using a customized version of remote access Trojan rat malware known as Ghost Rat, suggesting links to state-backed operations. Cisco Talos is calling the malware Sugar Ghost, and it says it's delivered through scanned documents that appear normal but are infected with a malicious code. It also says the attackers infected a broader range of targets, including ministries of foreign affairs and embassies in at least 9 countries across Africa, the Middle East, Europe, and Asia. So it's definitely going after government organizations. Sneaky Chef hackers have been active since at least August 2023, the researchers say. So one of the things you have to understand with attackers and hackers, hacktivists, all these different groups, and we've talked about this before on the show, is that there are different motives. There are different things that attackers are looking for. There are different industries that they're targeting. There are different companies that they're targeting for different reasons. If they're money motivated, maybe they go after a financial institution or somebody who has a lot of money. If they're politically motivated, maybe they're going after a political organization or government or something like that. There's all these different motives, and understanding what attackers are thinking or what attack groups think and what they target will help you as far as identifying who could ultimately come after you. And then that you can progress to saying, okay, well, they use these tactics and I can defend against them in this way. So it's this whole process of really knowing your enemy, knowing who's going to come after you, and using that to your advantage to put in controls, put in security mechanisms and things that are going to prevent those attacks, because you already know their strategy. You already know their techniques that they're going to use. And back to the article, Sugar Ghost is customized to allow hackers greater reconnaissance capabilities, including the ability to search for specific keys, file extensions, and more. It also allows hackers to deliver customized commands and evade detections. So pretty standard-ish kind of remote access Trojan activity. Next article, SolarWinds ServU vulnerability under active attack. A recently patched high-severity flaw impacting SolarWinds ServU file transfer software is being actively exploited by malicious actors in the wild. Vulnerability tracked as CVE 2024-28995 with a CVSS score of 8.6 concerns a directory traversal bug could allow attackers to read sensitive files on the host machine, affecting all versions of the software prior to and including ServU 15.4.2 HF1. It was addressed by the company in version ServU 15.4.2 HF2, so 15.4.2.157, released earlier this month. Cybersecurity firm Rapid7 described the vulnerability as trivial to exploit, and that it allows external unauthenticated attackers to read any arbitrary file on disk, including binary files, assuming they know the path to that file and it's not locked. So if you don't know what directory traversal is, we're not going to go super in depth with it. But essentially, if you look at a URL, so a website address that you would go to, like google.com or something like that, and then you would have these parameters at the end with like an equal sign, for instance. That's the common way that you're going to see it. And that they are saying that you have the ability to put in another location on the file system in that field. So wherever this vulnerable field is, and then the browser will show that information on the screen. So for instance, if it's a Linux system, you can go to the password file or the shadow file or something, depending on what the permissions are, because obviously that is going to impact what you can actually display. But that's the idea. So then you can just show any file on the system. If it's running with root level permissions, then you could see all those sensitive files. Or if it has access to those sensitive files in general, you could see them. And so that's kind of the idea. These attacks, although you typically with these can't directly write to the system, you can certainly get more information about that system, see what's important on that system. And there are certainly issues still associated with this kind of vulnerability. Let's keep reading here. Quote says, high severity information disclosures issues like CVE 2024-289995 can be used in smash and grab attacks where adversaries gain access to and attempt to quickly exfiltrate data from file transfer solutions with the goal of extorting victims, it said, because they're going to know where the systems where the files are, and potentially can leverage that into some other kind of attack or avenue or strategy, technique, whatever you want to call it. So certainly smash and grab attacks aren't always super common. And that's the idea of just like with robbers or bank robbers or things like that, where they just go in, they smash in the windows, they jump in, they grab whatever they want to take, and they run off. That's kind of why, like the relationship of that name, where that kind of comes from. But we don't always see that with companies and with hackers. They tend to try to be a little bit quieter, not always, and it depends on the sophistication level. We talked about in a previous episode last week that there was an adversary in a network for 3 years. So if you're just hanging around for 3 years, you're going to be really quiet. If you're just trying to get in, get what you can get and get out, maybe you're only in there for an hour because you're going to start setting off alarms. So it's just kind of this different tactic based on what the ultimate strategy is or what the objectives are of that attacking group. All right, let's keep moving. Next article, U.S. government sanctions 12 Kaspersky Lab executives. That doesn't sound good. And they give a whole hierarchy here of the different executives. Treasury Department's Office of Foreign Assets Control, OFAC, has sanctioned 12 Kaspersky Lab executives for their role in the Russian company. All the sanctioned individuals are in executive and senior leadership roles at AO Kaspersky Lab. On June 20th, 2024, the Biden administration announced the ban on selling Kaspersky antivirus software due to the risks posed by Russia to U.S. national security. The U.S. government is implementing a new rule leveraging powers established during the Trump administration to ban the sale of Kaspersky software, citing national security risks posed by Russia. So if you hadn't been following this, this is something that definitely happened. It was big news when all of this was being talked about as far as not trusting Kaspersky. And Kaspersky comes out and says that they are trusted, they're not controlled by the Kremlin, and all those kinds of things. Government experts believe that the influence of the Kremlin over the company poses significant risk, reported the Reuters. Russia-linked actors can abuse the software's privileged access to a computer system to steal sensitive information from American computers or spread malware, Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo said on a briefing call with reporters on Thursday. So obviously, antivirus software and critical software like that has elevated rights on the system that it's installed on. Otherwise, it couldn't do things like quarantine or read all the files that are on the system. So it just inherently needs elevated access to be able to do its actual objective. Raimondo is inviting Kaspersky's customers to replace their software. It also explained that U.S. clients who who already use Kaspersky's antivirus are not violating the law. So that's an important thing. Sometimes when laws go into place or regulations go into place, they make something illegal. And so if it makes it illegal just to possess or just to use something, whatever that is, it doesn't have to be software. It could be anything really. But if you hold that, if you possess whatever that is, then you could be breaking the law. We've seen that with various things really. And one of the things we've seen sometimes is when that happens, then you're given this kind of amnesty period where you can go turn in whatever that is, that device, that technology, whatever it is, you can go turn that in to the government or whoever, and you'll be free and clear. You're not going to be punished because you turned it in. But then after that certain date, then you will be held accountable if you still have it. So, I don't think that's going to happen with this kind of thing with software. And they've already said that just by having it, you're not violating the law, but you're not going to be able to buy it if you're a new customer. Department of Homeland Security and the Justice Department will notify U.S. customers about the ban. They will also set up a website to provide impacted customers with more information, probably an affiliate link, about the ban and instructions on the replacement. That would be quite humorous if they gave an affiliate link to Semantic or something. I'm sure they would love to. They probably would make a lot of money. So, and the article goes ahead and lists all the individuals that are affected, all the way from CFO, Deputy CEO, CBDO, CLO, all these high-level positions. So check it out if you're interested in seeing the actual names. That's an important thing too, though, is think about this. In your company, you could be held liable for whatever, right? And we've seen that even with compliance certifications and data breaches and things like that, where company gets breached and whoever the high-level executives are, they're on the hook. So that's why it's really important that you do your due care as well as due diligence throughout your program's life cycle, because even if you are responsible for whatever happens, if you are showing that you've put tremendous amount of effort and energy and resources into actually preventing certain attacks or certain things happening, bad things, just in general, not like this, but breaches and stuff like that, people are going to be more they're going to respect you more, and you're not going to be one of these examples where they just go after you and hammer you and just fine you and want to throw you in jail and do all these things because you did absolutely nothing. When you do nothing and you don't document things about what you've tried and all of those kinds of things, that's when it comes back to bite you. So you have to do those things. It's really important, especially as you climb the corporate ladder, because you are going to be more on the hot seat the higher you go. Keep that in mind. Next article, UK's largest nuclear site denies being hacked but pleads guilty over cybersecurity failures. The company managing the Sellafield nuclear site in the United Kingdom has pleaded guilty to 3 criminal charges over cybersecurity failings in a landmark prosecution, with its legal representative denying in court claims that the facility had been hacked. The case is the first the Office for Nuclear Regulation, ONR, has filed under the Nuclear Industries Security Regulations 2003, a law that requires nuclear premises to meet set standards for their physical and IT security plans. It followed the United Kingdom's Chief Nuclear Inspector's annual report, which revealed the site had already been the focus of enhanced regulatory attention over its cybersecurity failings. So they were already on the radar for having failings here. So the sentencing hearing is scheduled for August 8th, so that's coming up here in about a little over a month, about a month and a half or so. Now, ONR specific charges that they list in this article relate to the procedural failures rather than any specific hacking incidents. So keep that in mind. Failing to comply with their approved security plan by not arranging for annual health checks to be undertaken of their information technology systems by an authorized check scheme tester. So not audited on an annual basis. Pretty standard practice. Number two, failing to comply with their approved security plan by not arranging for annual health checks to be undertaken of their operational technology systems by an authorized check scheme tester. Again, number two, not bringing in an external third party to come in and check it out. Especially when you have your plan, you have the plan in place and you haven't done it, you haven't sought those resources, so you haven't planned or scheduled those resources to come in. That's kind of, that's due care because you put it in your plan apparently, but not due diligence because along the way, you're not continuing to do it. You're not trying to continuously focus. Number three, and this is the last one, failing to comply with their approved security plan by failing to ensure that there was adequate protection of sensitive nuclear information on their information technology network. Pretty vague, right? Does that mean you didn't put firewalls in place? You didn't use encryption? What does that mean? You didn't logically separate your networks? We don't know exactly what that means. Those are what that means. There's certainly 3 high-level findings, and I'm sure whatever document that they got directly probably was a little bit more detailed about how they were failing. But the first 2, I mean, really, those just come down to not having an auditor or somebody come in to do the required checks. Pretty standard stuff. But this third one is very, very broad. That's very broad. You didn't do a good job of protecting the sensitive data. How? But, I mean, that sometimes is what happens, especially like in these reports, the executive report portion of a report, like an audit report, they will have high-level findings a lot of times like this, where it is very high level. It doesn't describe in depth necessarily why, but it gives you a good idea of the things that you've done. I mean, honestly, the broadness of that third finding makes me feel like that they probably didn't do a lot. It's pretty broad. It's pretty broad. However, it is important, and this is a quote, however, it is important to emphasize there was not and never has been a successful cyber attack on Sellafield, he stressed, adding to the offenses to which Sellafield has pleaded guilty are historical. They do not reflect the current position. So, especially with an annual check, it takes a while to put in place controls and things of that nature. And then, in a year, that is really when you're going to find out, well, what have you really done? Sometimes it can be difficult to really analyze the magnitude or the impact of things that you're going to put into place, the controls that you're going to put into place, until you actually let them kind of work over time and kind of get flushed out. Because, honestly, a lot of times when you're putting controls into place, even your initial implementation, it might sound great right off the bat. A lot of times there are issues. There are adjustments that have to be made, tweaks that have to be made, and those tweaks and that ongoing improvement is what shows that you really care. That's what shows that you are doing due diligence throughout the year and throughout your program. It's not enough to just implement it. We saw that in this article, that they implemented a plan, they just didn't actually follow the plan. So it's not enough to just create the policies. You have to actually do them. You have to actually put them into place, execute them, enforce them, do all those things that you need to do. All right, let's keep moving here. An unpatched bug allows anyone to impersonate Microsoft corporate email accounts. Security researcher Vesevold Corcoran discovered a bug that allows anyone to impersonate Microsoft corporate email accounts. An attacker can trigger the vulnerability to launch phishing attacks. Absolutely. The researchers demonstrated the bug exploitation to TechCrunch. Corcoran told TechCrunch that he reported the bug to Microsoft, but the company replied that it couldn't reproduce his findings. Then Corcoran disclosed the flaw on X. Corcoran expressed surprise at the reaction to his report. He pointed out that he was only offering assistance to Microsoft. So this is a very interesting kind of situation. Let's talk about responsible disclosure and how this whole process works as far as submitting bugs to companies. So think about this. As far as a company, you want people to be able to contribute findings to help you identify flaws in your software because there are a tremendous amount of benefits to that. Think about this. Instead of having 100 people on staff to find all these bugs, maybe you only have 50 people on staff. And then you can let people do a bug bounty program or participate in finding bugs in the software, report them, and then just compensate them if they happen to find something. Have kind of a sliding scale of payments based on severity or criticality. And then you're going to end up overall paying less, obviously, because they're just going to find weaker bugs or whatever, and then you're not going to have to pay them like you would pay a developer or a security professional, somebody to actually literally go through this stuff day after day to find bugs. So again, there's tremendous value in that. But then what happens when people submit bugs to you? And how do you handle that information? What if you can't reproduce it, like in this case? You definitely don't want these people running off to Twitter or X or any other platform and just saying that they found these bugs. Because what if it is a real bug that you couldn't reproduce just because of whatever conditions exist, but then somebody else out there knows all the information basically, and they just are able to find out how to do it? It's a dangerous kind of thing when people start disclosing this information on the internet. And as a company, you really can't prevent them necessarily from doing it unless you get them in some kind of non-disclosure agreement, which probably means you're going to have to pay them some kind of bounty. But, obviously validation is really important, because if you can't validate it, is it a real flaw? Is it not? It's kind of, pros and cons to this situation as far as how you can act. But certainly that's why it's a good idea too, to try to build up really good rapport and relationships with these people that are submitting bugs, because it's obviously going to be a small subset of the entire population or even just the security field in general. And so the better you can have those relationships, the less likely they are to do things that could be bad for you as a company. So just keep that in mind. I mean, again, there's lots of different ways to go about it, but that is something that you need to think about, especially if it's if you have like reputation systems where people are submitting a lot of bugs to you and they build up the reputation. You need to take the people that have very high reputation with you seriously, even if you can't necessarily reproduce findings, because you want to make sure that these people are consistently helping you, that have a really vested interest in your process, that they are taken care of, that they are heard, and that they just kind of feel part of the team, in a sense. So really important discussion though. All right, so with that being said, that's the last article for today. Again, this is Cyber Threat Intel. I'm your host, John Good. This is episode number 55, and it is Monday, June 24th, 2024. Again, if you want to see all the articles that we covered in the episode, head on over to cyberthreatintel.com. Again, cyberthreatintel.com. You can find all the information there. And with that being said, I'll see you in the next one. See you later. Are you tired of overpaying for cybersecurity training? Are you interested in training from industry professionals? Are you looking for cybersecurity career services? If you answered yes to any of those questions, then cybertrainingpro.com is the perfect platform for you. At Cybertraining Pro, we're a one-stop shop for all your cybersecurity needs. We can train you for industry certifications or just improve your overall knowledge and skills in a certain area. Unlike other platforms, we don't stop there. We can also coach you throughout your career, practice your interview skills, or create a high-performing resume with our career services. Cybertrainingpro.com isn't just another training platform. Students get exclusive access to our private community, where we go beyond training courses to provide additional content, tips and tricks, and engagement with both other students and staff. Look, by the year 2025, there could be as many as 3.5 million job openings in cybersecurity. With so much opportunity, why not maximize your career potential with a platform that cares about your success? Come join us at cybertrainingpro.com and start building your future today.